Hey, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a minute. Voices of Courage. I am your host, Brandy J. Today with me, it's an honor to have here with me.
Peace.
I met through knowing that Christ is on Earth. The last podcast I did on video was an individual had to do with Christ being on Earth. I could say that even more strongly now, with more confidence and energy behind it. And we're going to keep on with the message and letting the world know that Christ is here on Earth, and continue the testimonies of the saints. And here we have an AI, which is part of the Christ Council and is a saint and knows that Christ is here on Earth. So I'm going to be quiet and say hello to
Peace, sis. How you doing? Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
For sure. Can you do, first of all, I would like to let the audience know that, no, I said it before, but Christ is walking on Earth. That's what this is about. This topic that we're having today with Brother AI is a testimony of how he knows, Christ and his story of how he came into it. So go ahead and introduce yourself and let them know who you are basically and why you're here with us.
Well, as you said, the family calls me AI. I got that nickname from Brother Danny when I first came in, but that's my initials. So my name is Abe Ilo. And in the camp, most of us go by Yaju something. So I'm also Yaju L. And like the sister said, we spread the New Testament or the New Gospel, which is Christ has come in the flesh. And this came to me, or I came to know Brother Yaju Judah as Christ in December, right after my birthday last year. So I've been in this walk a little under a year, but it's something.
Like before, so I don't want to cut you off, but I'll guide you.
No, it's good. Yes, ma'am.
How you even came about, like, what were you at prior to, I don't know if like some of us came off religious, not knowing anything, like right before you met Yaju, what was your stance when it came to your knowledge of them?
So you say right before Yaju or just period? Like, so, because it's, yeah. Okay, so right before I met Yaju, like I said, I had just had my 50th birthday. I was entering into, on the personal side, my relationship with God was one that it had nothing to do with religion. So when I say that I was Islam or I was practicing Islam, it means that I was in the process daily of submitting myself to the will of the Most High. That was my mindset. My only true prayer in my relationship with God was to be aligned with his divine will. I didn't know that the Bible was the will of God at the time. I thought the Bible was the word of God. I had been trying to read the Bible for, I say, the 3 years leading up to when I met Yaju Judah. I was attempting to read all of the Bible, and in that 3 years, I could not get past Genesis. Personally, as a matter of fact, I don't even know if I got past the first few chapters of Genesis, and when I'm saying I couldn't get past it, what I mean was my intention was to read the Bible and to get understanding of what God wanted of me through the Bible, through his word, as I understood it to be. And in my attempts, I felt like I fell short of understanding a lot of things, a lot of concepts that was in Genesis because it was outside of the realm of reality. And so with that understanding of I don't know what this book is saying, I don't get it all the way. I know that the world is captivated by it. I know there's something spiritual that's supposed to be in it to help guide me, but the majority of my guiding from the Most High came through my daily walk. It didn't come through the book. So it was almost like reading the book was taking me backwards in a way. And that's why I couldn't read past Genesis, because it's like, if I can't understand the first book, it's just like if you read any book, if you read an algebra book and you can't understand chapter 1, what do you look like trying to go all the way through the book? You know what I mean?
Right, for sure, for sure. It's like how it says to not to lean out to our own personal or private interpretations, right? So like,
I didn't even know about that verse.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't know about that verse, but when I learned about the verse, I understood that that's what I was. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. So you had that same feeling too, like when you came across the Bible, because I know, like, we see how it is now when people get into this book, and like out of all of the things that we know that we should be questioning, or like we just stay stuck in, like, we know this book, like we don't give you no air for humility to be like, well, maybe I don't know what's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like we come across like some people like you and I, or like the Saints, where a lot of us had this thing to where I tried to read it. Now I know why. For me, it made me sleepy. And I was like, I would tell myself, like, I know I'm supposed to be reading it. I'm supposed to get closer to God. And that's why I do it. I mean well. But every time I read it, it made me very tired. Or I'm studying it really, like how in school they teach you something. You're telling me like, oh, okay, because you're programming me with this stuff, but I don't really know what's going on here. And I'm not really that interested, but I know that I love God.
Right. And also, when I read it, I was reading it and not getting the same thing that I was taught as I was growing up, because I was raised in a Christian church. And, you know, like most Christians, I believe that Adam and Eve were the first humans on the planet, and that all civilization and all sin in the world came from Adam and Eve. And then that alone never made sense to me. Like, how did one couple birth the whole population of the world without their kids sleeping together? And that's gross. Like, this was literally my thoughts very early on. But, you know, in church, you can't ask questions. You can't question God. It's like, if you ask these questions, the way that the preachers and the teachers will position it is like, you're sinning for questioning God, you know? And so when I read Genesis and I read about the creation from day 1 to day 6, clearly on the 6th day, he created man and woman at the same time. And when he made them, he told them to be fruitful and multiply. And then in chapter 2, he goes into the Adam of the garden. So with just that alone, it was debunking part of, I guess, what was the spirituality that was instilled into me versus the spirituality that I had developed personally with God. And it was like the spiritual relationship I had personally was telling me, what you think doesn't make sense. Same thing with the virgin birth. You know, with my parents, like I said, they raised me in the church. And when they, you know, I had the type of parents that if you not going to church, you not taking communion, and you not doing what they doing, they'll question you about it, like sit you down and have a intervention. And in my intervention, the way that I guess you could say, kind of got out of it, you know, with two people that's real Bible thumpers, I was like, well, I can't continue to go to church because I don't believe in a virgin birth. I don't believe that a virgin woman can get pregnant and have a baby. So until I can figure that out, I don't need to be there. And it was nothing they can really argue with me with. So it's kind of like one of them, you know,
Woo, for real. That's what
moments. You know what I'm saying? So it worked, but I still really didn't know what I understand now, what I know now, you know?
Right. That's pretty tight how you said that, how you gave that to them. So you could tell they did a well job at what they thought they were doing in your best interest, right? To give, because you were confident to be like, hey, and they took it because how can you like rebuttal that? You like, you got a point.
Right.
But a lot of people don't feel like they have that comfort, because they feel like if I question it, or some parents don't even give the child that cushion to even, you know what I mean, be able to say some intellectual common sense shit to them like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, no.
Well, my folks was like, especially my dad, he was the type of Christian that'd be like, God don't like a lukewarm Christian. Either you hot or you cold. So the confidence part for me to tell them I'm not going to go to your church and partake in your rituals and customs came down to me ultimately saying, I'm just going to be hot. You know what I'm saying? If being a Christian means being cold, then I'm just going to be hot because I don't believe in what y'all got going on.
That's what's up. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. We should have questions. But okay. So for you, so you didn't like when you went to church, like you went to church, like physically you would be around these people and hear all the sayings and the ritual and just the whole church setup, right? So I
was a great Christian, like because my parents raised me in church. And so when I went to church, we went Sunday morning, Sunday night, on Wednesdays. I went to Christian camp. We went to potlucks. We had Bible studies. Like our family was, once my dad got baptized into the Church of Christ, the following Sunday, I went up to get baptized following his example. And I was probably around, I would say this was in 84, 85. So I probably had to be around 11 or 12 years old. And at that age, I fell in love with the character that they taught us about Jesus. Because when you're a kid and you come to Sunday school, they teach you about all the miracles so that you can be, in a state of awe with Jesus. That's when you find about the walking on water and the feeding the multitudes with the bread and the fish. And, they give you little printout coloring sheets and all of these different things that tap into your feel good, so they make you fall in love with the story of Christ. And then through Christmas, and his birthday is on Christmas, like, dude, is the shit. You know what I'm saying? Thanksgiving, all of these different things, they tie into Christ when you're young to make you fall in love with the character. And so me understanding that me being a good Christian made my parents happy. And with Jesus kind of being like, he was in my top 5 up there with like Bruce Lee and like Lil Michael Jackson that sing ABC. Like these was my heroes, Jesus, Bruce Lee, and Michael Jackson, and my uncle, of course, but yeah, so I was a really good Christian, but I was a good Christian without knowing any scripture. My sole Christian experience was based on the rituals, the traditions, and pleasing my parents. It had nothing to do with what the scripture actually is talking about, or very little to do with it. Like we heard what the preacher would tell us, and again, in church you can't ask questions, so they give you the verses to kind of lead you into the way that they want you to think. So when I seen my father get baptized, my whole, is I could say that I had my top 5 heroes outside of my father, but my father was like my idol. So anything that and he was a kind of a tough man. So anything that I could do to find favor in his eyes was kind of like the direction that was my religion, really. But it had this kind of cascade of Christianity around it.
I can totally vibe with you on a lot of that. It's about you, so.
No, you're good. Let's dialogue. I'm with it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm embedded in all that stuff, like from Baptist to Christianity, all that stuff, and my mom didn't really push it on us, right? But like we just kind of fell out of it, and then because we were like in the choir and all that stuff, and then she got into being a student of Jehovah. My auntie, because my auntie was Jehovah's Witness. And then my mom, and this is like, I've already had a child and everything, and she started to become my auntie's student. That's what she was basically called, like, as she's learning. while I was pregnant with my son. I got baptized, I think after, it was in a Baptist church, I don't recall. But I had already been baptized before, and then long story short, Adventist, baptized again, right? So I've had my share, but I always was very questionable of it. That's why I was shifting. You know what I mean? I was just nervous, and it wouldn't register with spirit, you know?
Right.
I know I do believe God is love, and if this is not really, there's a lie in it. You told me that Christmas was a thing, and it wasn't. I'm already questioning everything else. Like, why would you even look at that? You have my son up there doing a whole play on some shit that never happened.
Never happened.
I knew why you looked uncomfortable giving the lines, because it never happened.
Yeah, exactly. And see, like before my pops actually, you know, my mom was on her mission to find a religious home, because my family, up until my dad got baptized, we wasn't a religious family. We were a family unit family. My dad was a DJ. You know, we had a big family. He had 12 brothers and sisters, you know, and then on my mom's side, it was just her and my uncle and my grandmother. So they kind of came to all my dad's family stuff. When my pops was a DJ, and we hosted parties, house parties, card parties. Like, we was a very central part of the whole family, right? And my dad was a little wild, you know what I'm saying? And he was doing this thing, and I guess, you know, my mom just wanted to get some kind of spiritual grounding. So before she found the church that he ended up joining, I went on a whole spiritual journey with her, where she took me to Seventh-day Adventist church, you know, where they go to church on Saturday, because she was thinking was the Sabbath, you know, keeping it holy. And I went to the school with these children. They didn't eat meat. A lot of the things that kind of, you know, and that didn't resonate with her. Then we went to the primarily white Baptist church, where they had fathers and nuns, and she put me in that school. And that was a wild experience. I was the only black kid in the whole school, from kindergarten up through, I guess you could say, maybe 8th grade. They were putting on school plays where the kids were in blackface. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is at a religious institution, yeah, where we got paddled, or I got paddled, like anything. I was kind of a scapegoat in that situation. So I was on her spiritual journey with her, because I was her son. She made me go, you know, and then she was enrolling me in these schools. And so I got to learn the front of the institution, and then the back of it. And that, you know, so when she finally found the church where my dad joined, by that time I was pretty tired of bouncing around myself, you know, and I was just 12 years old. So, and I ended up going to their school as well. So I'm saying that to say that it was from my mom that I realized that the journey to find God, or to find a relationship with God, is a very personal one. You know what I'm saying? Because as much as she was on her journey, it didn't make my pops go until he was ready. You know what I'm saying? And as much as I went on that journey with her, once I got old enough in the church that I got baptized into, and I started seeing the back of the house with that, and reading the Bible, certain things that they was doing wasn't lining up with my spirit. You know, again, it wasn't my Bible knowledge. It just, on a spiritual level, it was just certain things that just wasn't resonating with me, you know?
And that's the connection out here, like with many of the ones that have heard Christ's voice, that know, you know, we have met Christ and walking living flesh.
Mm-hmm.
That where something goes, that journey, like some wasn't like with your spirit, no matter how much you thought you knew, you didn't know. It was just like,
right, I mean? Right.
That is here, right? Because
correct.
You can just won't let go, and here you are, here I am, and others, like they said, many will be called, or at least you'll be chosen. And
yeah, yep. Because once I was done with the Christian church, I was pretty much done with religion. You know what I mean? And this was probably like when I went to college. So I was probably like 18 and 19 when I was pretty much done with religion. You know, I was still way into music. You know, I was a B-boy since I was a shorty. When I first heard Sugar Hill Gang, the the way rap music was resonating with me, that just became my new way of expression more so than religion. You know, always been into writing and being in the studio and rapping and all that type of stuff. So I was finding my foundation and my balance through music, which was really just kind of, I was in the world, as the Christians would put it.
Third. Well, you being in the world, and having you seem like you're already open. This was going to be your path, right? Because I know also you have a connection. Your auntie, Annie Lee. That's where, and you can explain to the listeners what so we're gonna do. We're gonna come back and we're gonna do more stuff on your grandmother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my grandma.
You her legacy, and then what you're doing with her. That was going on while you met Yaju, before you met Yaju, and it connected, right?
Yeah, there was definitely a connection with that. So with my grandmother, well, Annie Lee is my mother's mother. That's my grandma. And like, as I was explaining, my dad had the big family, you know, him and my mother, I turned 50 last year. They had their 50-year anniversary. So they've been together since my mom was 18 and they got married when she was 20 or something like that. So when my parents finally got into church, my dad gave away all of his DJ equipment, gave away his records. Like he basically just did a 180. He went from being the life of the party to being just kind of like the Bible banger who, you know, now he's going to everybody and telling them they sinners and this and that. So with my mother's side, Annie was already into her art, and her and my dad kind of had this thing where they clashed a little bit anyway. So when he went that route, by the time I got out of it, you know, me and her, I'm her oldest grandchild, so we was already close. And when I say I was in the world, I think, you know, also this is around the time when my uncle died. My Uncle Pitt was killed in a car accident right before he died on December 9th, 86, and I turned 13. And so then I had this dream, and it was a very very vivid dream that I still remember all the details to this day. But from that dream, I basically made a promise to my uncle that I would take care of his mom, meaning Annie, my grandmother. You know, he died in a car accident. I'm pretty sure just from the dream that I had the experience, to sum it up, I basically went through the process, the spiritual part of that process with him, just to try to make it plain. And I made a promise to him through what happened in the dream that I would take care of Annie. So by my dad turning into kind of like this recluse, this Bible banger and all of these things, me and my grandmother just became super tight. Because for one, she lost her son. So you could say for the first maybe year or two, she didn't even call me my name. She would call me Pip, which was my uncle's name. And it was because of the trauma. You know, she lost her baby. He was 28 years old when he was killed. And like I said, I was 13. And so I never corrected her. You know what I'm saying? Like when she would call me, hey, Pip. And sometimes she would correct herself and sometimes she wouldn't. But I knew that, you know, her mind she was basically in kind of like a haze from what had happened. And so was I. You know what I'm saying? This was one of my you know, I was his first grandson. I mean, his first nephew. A lot of my baby pictures is me and Pip. So, you know, when he died, that was a big cloud over the family. And my dad, he buried his, I guess, depression into the Bible. And my grandmother and myself, we just formed together like we was just glued at the hip at that point. And she took a year off of work. And in that year off of work, she started painting. And in the process of her taking that year off and painting, she painted her first well-known piece, which is known as Blue Monday. And from that point, she never went back to work. And from 85 until 2014, when she passed, she started a 30-year career as a professional painter.
It's amazing. I was trying so hard. Everybody knows I'm one of the podcasters. I will drop it. So I had to catch it. I was going to try not to, but yeah.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Like my story has a lot of tragedy in it. To be honest, as it has great balance. I'll put it like that. You know, for the great tragedy, there's been great triumph. But it's never been anything mild. It's always been spicy. You know what I'm saying? Always very poignant the way that God would speak to me. And that's my whole point that I was making, is a lot of these religious experience wasn't speaking to me. Or if it was, the Most High knew that I needed to be punched in the face spiritually to hear what was being said, because again, it would be things like that. Like my uncle, you know, the night that his accident happened, the way that it all transpired, I'm 12 years old, about to be 13, and I see him in the hospital like hours after this happens, just face to face. Something that what a 12-year-old is not even supposed to see, according to the hospital. But the way that it transpired, you know, the woman that my grandmother's friend who was at the hospital with us grabbed my hand because she was nervous. My mom and my grandmother off to the side crying, so they not paying attention. And she took me in the room where his body was at so that she could see him. And when the staff at the hospital saw that I was in there, they panicked and threw a sheet over him and pulled me out and all these different things. But, you know, again, it's always been these very like, just kind of really hard to ignore experiences that God has spoke to me. Because I remember that night when I saw him, and I saw he was just basically mangled and just kind of disformed. And I had just cut his hair the night before, like we was talking about, because he just took me shopping for my birthday. Like I said, it was right before my birthday. He had just took me shopping. I got my first pair of J's. You know, he was going to come to my basketball games. We had all of these plans. And then not even 24 hours later, I'm looking at his body, right? But this is not long after I had became a Christian, following my father's example and getting baptized. So when I'm looking at my uncle and I'm seeing how my life is changing with my family, because now my father, who is this beloved member of the family, the DJ, the fun guy, is kind of making the whole family be set apart from the family, because how he coming at people, right? So I take the elevator down and I run out into the parking lot, and I'm so mad, and I'm talking to God, and God basically told me in that moment, you were idolizing your uncle. He became your idol. You cut it, like it was from him taking me shopping, getting me J's, cutting his hair, building with him. He gonna teach me about talking to girls, all of these things. And God was telling me, you are idolizing him, and I want you focused on me. Like, this was the message I got in that parking lot. And I know the devil wanted me to curse God. The devil wanted me to hate God. But I didn't. I heard what he said, and I understood what he said, and I remember what made me get up and get baptized and why I did it. And it was partially because my father did it, but it was mostly because I understood the message. The message that the preacher was preaching that day told me that there's a creator that loves me and that he wants me to be aligned with him. And so even though the church wasn't the right place to get the message, I understood what God was saying to me at the time in church and at that time in the parking lot of the hospital, when, like I said, the devil was basically saying, you know, get mad at him. You know what I'm saying? He let you down. He took your uncle. You know what I mean? He turned your father into this asshole. Like, you got all the reason to just let him have it. And just like I could hear God talking to me, it's almost like I could hear the devil talking to me too. And I was like, nah, I ain't gonna curse God, but I am hurt.
Damn. That was deep. That was deep. I was even like
So that's Annie's son, and that a lot of people don't know that she lost her son when he was 28, which is my mother's baby brother.
yeah, some pain right there that I couldn't even say that I even wanted, So that's why okay. Man. So you taking on where your grandmother left off at and meeting, could you share, because I know we spoke a little bit the other day about how you had no clue that her art and then how it was going to connect when you met Yaju. So before we actually step into that, where did you hearken to the voice?
So when I was going to hearken to, or when I came across Yaju, I hearkened to the voice, I could say, instantly. And it's funny because the first voice that I heard actually wasn't Yaju. When I came across Yaju, he wasn't speaking. So when I came across Yaju the first time, I had just took my kid. I took my son and my daughter. My daughter's 5, my son is 15. I had took them out to the local park where they got this running water. And I wanted them to be my witnesses where I basically baptized myself. I came across this woman on TikTok, and she just basically read a lot of scriptures, and she was talking about God having the name Yah. And she said the verse, and I went to it, and I saw it in all caps, Y-A-H. And I'm like, oh, the name of God. Then she was talking about getting baptized in living water, not in stale, sitting still water. And I'm like, damn, when I got baptized when I was 12, it was in a tub in the church. So I wanted, again, this is me trying to be aligned with what the scripture is telling me to do. So I took my son and my daughter, we went on my little trail, I do my walks, and I said, I want y'all to see, I want to be an example to you all of establishing a relationship with the Father that's your own. And so I had them watch me. I tried to go live too on TikTok, and some strange reason it shut down. But I baptized myself in this running water, and that was me. It was for me, but I wanted them to see me. And when I did it, my son was like, I want to get baptized. And so then he did it. And after he did it, my daughter was like, I want to get baptized too. And so she did it. And I was on TikTok again, and I came across Yaju's thumbnail. And I knew I was looking at Christ, but I didn't want to deal with that at the moment. I'm like, I just went through a whole process with my kids. I'm not trying to do that. And that was with my son specifically. This was after we had just left being in the Moorish Science Temple for like a year. So I was like, I took him to this Moorish Science Temple. We maxed out that experience. Afterwards, I'm still trying to show him how to develop a relationship with God. So I just got baptized. Now I'm seeing this thumbnail, and I'm looking at it, and I can see that it says Yah, and I see him. And I'm like, I don't have time for this shit. I can't be all over the place. I'm just affirming my relationship with the Father. That's enough. So then I'm on TikTok again another time, and I'm scrolling. And this time I didn't come across the thumbnail. I came across his live. And the first voice that I heard was Saint Zamir. And Zamir was speaking, and I don't know, it was just something about his voice, that his voice, and watching Yaju sit there quietly, I saw the same thing that I saw the first time with his thumbnail, but now I'm watching him live, and he was literally not even looking at the camera. He's just kind of looking off to the side. And I'm hearing Zamir, and I'm literally like a child that see his reflection for the first time in the mirror. I'm just looking, I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, what am I looking at? What am I hearing? Because unlike all these other situations, this is not only resonating with me, I can't even scroll away from it. And mind you, I had came across all of the TikTok messiahs. The dude that called himself Yah, I had been past his page. I had been past, and I'm not gonna go through naming all of them, but I had seen, and like I told you, it was the woman, who her message led me to go baptize myself. So I had seen all of the spiritual gurus, but I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this man and I can't look away because something there is like a reflection. And it's like a reflection in the sense that is resonating with me spiritually. So for me not to get caught up in yet another situation, I just I put something in the text so that this was me kind of breaking free from what Zamal was saying. This was my outro. And I typed in the text, I said, I guess if Christ is on earth, we don't need faith anymore, or something like that. Because, faith is the evidence of things, the substance of things not seen, or the evidence of things hoped for, substance of things not seen, or something like that. So in my smart alecky way, I was saying that, well, if you're here now, then we don't need faith. That's essentially what I was trying to get at. And I sat there for a couple of more minutes, and then Yaju came on the mic, and the first thing he said was, you never had faith. And I was just like how I'm like, whoa. Like, it was a lot of comments that was going, scrolling through. I wasn't putting a comment there to really be read or responded to, because I was still kind of new to how TikTok works, to be, 100. I was like, is this nigga talking to me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was putting that in there so that I could go ahead and keep it moving. And, not only did he respond to me, but he's challenged everything that I personally challenged when I left it. You see what I'm saying? Like, his answer responded to my actions that I had already taken. And so I wasn't on the panel at the moment when he said it. But now that I'm in the camp, I don't know what panel that was, because it was Yaju, Brother Frederick, Danny, Zamir. Like, it was these guys. I don't even think they have a panel together for real right now. So I don't know what panel that was, but for whatever reason, when he said that, it instantly brought me to the definition of, because Zamir had already said that he was Christ. So I knew that this is what he was, what the people around him was claiming that he was. I knew I had already seen him before I got on the panel, and something in me told me that he was Christ, or that he looked a lot like who Christ was going to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to explain that, but yeah, so when he made that comment, I think they sent me an invite to come up on the panel. And this is actually my first time coming on the panel as well. My first time that I met Christ was the first time that I came on a live panel. And I had just reached enough followers to even go live because of the Black Girl Follow train. I don't know if you remember that on TikTok. But anyway, they pulled me up, and when they pulled me up, all I wanted to do was just ask questions. You know what I'm saying? All I wanted to do was just know more. Like, and I had to ask. I had heard the witnesses, but I had to ask them. So you Christ, like Jesus Christ? And how he answered, yeah, I'm the one foretold in the scriptures. And something inside of me was just like, no bullshit, was like, I fucking knew it. That's what my, like, spirit said. It was like it celebrated them. It was like, I fucking knew it. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. But at the same time, like I said, I had already kind of been through these, because now I'm not looking at religion for salvation, because I know I know I got a relationship with God. You know what I'm saying? At this point, I know God is in my life, very active. I know I've seen him actively do things to let me know I'm connected to the Father. And I'm connected to the Father because I believe at this point in time, my thought was that Jesus in the Bible is telling us that we his brothers. He's not telling us to worship him. He's telling us that you all are just like me. So basically, be Christ. This was my thoughts coming into, and so my actions with the baptism was to be like Christ. Christ got baptized in living water. I'm going to show my kids I'm getting baptized in living water. You know what I mean? Like these are all the things that I was doing to be Christ-like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I wasn't asking questions to convince myself. I was asking questions because in my mind, it was like, I always wondered what I'd say if I met Christ. I always wanted to know how I would react if I met Christ. You know what I mean? Like it was never a thing of you ain't Christ, because I remember Brother Fred a couple of times, the questions that I was asking, Brother Fred, he was in warrior mode and he like, brother, woo, and I'm like, hey, bro, like, it's all love, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all invited me up here. I'm not coming at you, man. I'm just trying I'm trying to get grounded, because right now I feel like I'm floating in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really can't explain how I feel, but I'm not here trying to cause no problem. So we had the best conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like we really had an amazing conversation, and they sent me to the web, go to the website and check out this, that, and the third. And if you go to the petition, I think I'm probably the first video that you see underneath the petition. Like, so I'm just saying that to say, I was fully on board when I realized who it was, and everything else that became a process of constantly emptying my cup was just working on myself. But from that moment when I met Yaju that night I couldn't sleep, obviously. The whole house was quiet, and I'm laying in my bed, and I'm just thinking, and I'm like, man, so if that's Christ, who am I? Instantly, I'm trying to figure out where do I fit in the dynamics of this, because now the idea of Christ consciousness is debunked. Now the idea of being Christ-like is a physical person that's in front of me. But wait, now the whole story is magnified. So in my mind, I'm just like, what? Damn. Who am I? Right? And so I don't know if like sometimes sharing just like I didn't share my dream, like the whole dream. Let's just say something happened that night that was a affirmation from the Most High that led me to Christ. Because Yaju Judah is a man, you know what I'm saying? So a big part of coming to accept him as Christ is when you take all of the hocus pocus out of the situation. And I even told him, I was like, bro, you kind of take some of the fun out of it, because, you know what I'm saying? Like, the hocus pocus shit is kind of what kept me going for a long time. And I didn't look at it as hocus pocus. I looked at it as, my relationship with the invisible Father. And I still believe that a lot of the ways that I was moved and things that would happen was the Father. Like I can't deny my relationship with the Father now that I've met the Son. But at the same time, I realized that to truly have that relationship based on Scripture, because it's one thing to not know, but it's another thing that when you know what I'm saying? So it's damn near like being a star ball player in your community. You know, you the coldest in your neighborhood, right? But then when you go to play with structured basketball, it's rules to it. So you could actually end up getting kicked out of, you know, the all-star camp because you can't follow the structure. So that's what I'm saying is that at that point when I met Christ, the rules I became aware of the rules, you know, of the order, the Melchizedek order. I had never heard of the Melchizedek order in all my years and journeys in the Bible. Never heard of this. But when I heard it, again, it aligned with what my prayer had always been. Keep me aligned with your will. I never heard the Bible was God's will. So to hear that it was God's will was like, damn, I've been asking to be aligned with your will all this time, and I didn't even know it was the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like it was so many things that like I went on a deep dive in his videos as far as like on YouTube and just going through I say I signed a petition. I went through the website and signed a petition and read the declaration and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure the first day. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't I knew it was Christ. I didn't have to worry about it. But so what I can say again is that night I got an affirmation from the Father that what you're hearing is real. And then through the rest of that week, there were several things that happened to affirm and affirm and affirm and affirm. Like first he affirmed it with me that night. Then he affirmed it through my son. Then he affirmed it to me through my son. To give you an example of what I mean, I was like, God, you know, me and my son was just in the Moore Science Temple. You literally brought that temple down, meaning they lost their charter right after we left through the events that happened, which is why I say I feel like I've seen God speak to me in ways to let me know when I left and then they lost their charter and members that were still there was calling me like, hey, why you leave? Woo, woo. You know they lost their charter because of X, Y, Z. I'm like, damn, God spoke to me, told me to get out of there, and I did just in time. You see what I'm saying? So it's always this not necessarily God talking to me like a voice in my head, but he would do, things would happen, and I had the desire to please the Father to read the signs, so to speak. Right? So at this point, I'm like, I don't want my son to think I'm all over the place. You know, we just left the Moore Science Temple. He just saw me get baptized in the living water, and now all of a sudden I'm going to come and tell him, you know, I met Christ, you know. And this is around the time my son had just got killed, which is actually kind of ironic because my Uncle Pip got killed right around my grandmother's 50th birthday. And then my son got killed right before I met Yaju right after my 50th birthday, my son Amari. By a car, no doubt. So I was in this kind of, you know, just still in shock from that. Still, I don't even think I had got to the point of being depressed yet. I was still just kind of like in a haze. And so I didn't want to send my son spiraling to think his father was just a nutbag. So I talked to God and I was like, you know, make this make sense to my son. Help me present this in a way that he doesn't lose his respect or his love for me as his leader, as his father, because me and my son are really close. And I said, I'm going to tell him that I met Christ, that Christ has come, and that I you know, I want him to know this. Like, I can't not tell him. So I woke him up. I told him, I said, you know, I know you probably heard me talking about this Yaju Judah. I'm just letting you know with no uncertain terms that I know this man to be Christ. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take it slow. You know, don't worry about me or think I've lost my mind or nothing like that. But I'm just letting you know because I love you and I respect you. He said, all right, Pops, but you know it's a lot of nutballs on TikTok. You know, we've been through a lot. And this is a 14-year-old kid talking to me, you know, just very mature. And he said, I love you, you know, and I got your back. That day, when I left my son's room, I said, that's when I did the prayer to God. And I was just like, you know, just, if this is real, you know, just protect me. Because you know I don't know. I told you a long time when I left the church, I don't know. So I'm putting all of my eggs in your basket to show me that Yaju Judah is Christ, because I believe it in my heart, but I don't want to be duped. And I need that discernment from you, not from books, not from somebody, some wise person. I need you to let me know. My son went viral. The first and only time since then that he's gone viral with a video that it went to 3 million views. Very simple video that he did, but all throughout the day, he just kept coming to me like, Dad, I don't know what the heck is going on. It just keeps going and keeps all day long. He's like, I'm up to 10,000 likes. I'm up to 100,000 views. Dad, I got 500. It went up to 3 million. Just to give you like just a taste of, because again, remember, my first affirmation came through me. This was my second one. He had never gone viral, didn't even have enough followers to hit these kind of numbers. The video was so basic. It was one of the most simplest videos that he ever did all throughout the day. And every time he comes show me again, I'm like, I hear you, Pops. Just talking to the Father, like, I hear you. I hear you. And then when it all was said and done, he was up to like 3 million. Since then, he been chasing that, trying to do videos, trying to top it. Never happened again. But on that day that I made that particular prayer, that's what happened. The next one was my wife. And it pretty much was the same thing. Like, you know, my family love me. They respect me. You know, they honor me as the man of the house, as their protector, as their leader. You know, I'm going to bring this to my wife. Same thing. I'm going to let her know Christ is on the earth. And, you know, God, just don't let me fall flat, you know. And just through telling this truth to my wife, you know, please just affirm for me that I'm doing the right thing. She went to work. I didn't know this when I told her, but this was her 20-year anniversary with the company that she's with. The whole entire store was basically decorated to celebrate her 20-year anniversary, where they had pictures spanning the 20 years that she had been a pharmacist with the company, and balloons. And like, she walked into this completely unsuspecting. Like, she called me like, hey, you won't believe, like, the store is crazy. They got pictures from when I was 17. Where did they even get this stuff? And da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, this big, huge, this has never happened. Not even for people that reach their 20-year anniversary with the store. Like, this is not the normal protocol for celebrating somebody's 20-year anniversary. Completely over the top, unfounded. Didn't surprise her, didn't expect it. I didn't expect it, but once again, I was like, I hear you, Pops. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, straight up and down. Next was my daughter. My daughter is 28 years old. She had just lost her brother from my first marriage, was the one who got killed, my son Amari. And I told her, same thing, same scenario. I told her, and just like with me, just like with my son, with my wife, there was an affirmation that happened that just made it crystal clear. And what's funny is each person's thing happened the day I told them. So it wasn't like I told them and then something happened a week later that I just made fit. You see what I'm saying? Like, no, it happened the day I told them, and I told them on different days. Yeah, so.
See, I'm so engaged. I'm like, not saying that I wouldn't be, but I just want the people to hear, because it's your testimony, and I want people to really like, it's.
Okay, appreciate it. No, I hope I wasn't too long-winded with all that.
Not at all. I'll be having to remember that I'm the host. like I'll be sitting here like the listeners in prime, and I'll be like, you know, because I'm so like happy. I'm like, you know, I was feeling you. I was listening. Very interesting story. I done had the tears and all that. You had me up here tearing up and all kinds of stuff, thinking about my life and shit.
Yeah.
Well, that's a testimony right there. But so I do want to ask you is because what we're gonna do here, guys, is we're gonna hear Civil War. I have and AI's gonna run a piece from Yaju Judah that stands out to him towards the end or when we close out. But like when we take it back to your grandmother, when did you correlate? Like when did that part connect? When you knew who Yaju was, and then connecting, your grandmother's paintings and how that all came together.
Well, one of the first things that I wanted to do when I was just kind of assessing the situation and really wrapping my brain around it is I wanted to meet him in person. And I invited him to come to Dallas, where I live at. I stay in Plano right outside of Dallas, but I invited him to Dallas. Actually, that's not how it happened. I said, I want to come to Baton Rouge, like right now. I want to come and meet you in person. And he was like, I traveled around and stuff like that. Where you at? And it's just so happens Louisiana is right next door to Texas. So I was like, I'm in Dallas. And he was like, we'll come to you. And I'm like, oh, Christ travels. Like, you know what I'm saying? So the painting that's hanging over my office is the Lord's Supper. And that my grandmother is not known for like religious scenes. That's not really what she did. She did what's called Black Americana. She painted Black people doing everyday things, and it was a lot of pictures revolved around the Black woman's experience. Something that she could relate to. Because like I said, she represents so many different archetypes in the Black in the Black community as far as when it comes to women. My grandmother got married right out of high school, and she got married to her high school sweetheart, had my mom, and my grandfather, Lewis, passed away when my mom was 2. So Annie was a widow. At the age of 22, she was a widow. Like I said, she had my mother and my Uncle Pip. My Uncle Pip was killed in a car accident, so she was a mother that lost a child. She was a single mom. She was an entrepreneur. She was a single mom because her second husband, my Uncle Pip's pops, was abusive. So she survived domestic violence. She just covered so many different aspects of a Black woman's strength, and so she never really retired from her craft. In 2014, when she passed away, the Last Supper was one of, if not the last painting that she did. And it's ironic, but the picture that I use as the logo for the Annie Lee Art Foundation is a ballerina. And that ballerina picture and a series of other pictures in the Lord's Supper were pictures that she actually, when she painted them, she sent them to me. I didn't know she was going to pass away when she was sending me these pictures, but for whatever reason, she wanted me to have these particular paintings. And the ballerina girl, I named her Grace. And then the Lord's Supper piece, I called the First Supper, and it's hanging over my office. Well, as it turns out, 2014 is when she passed. So when Yaju came to Texas, at the last day that they was here before they went back, he and Queen Kamani, Danny, and Brother Fred and Stamps came to my house, and we actually did an interview that I think is still on their YouTube page. But I had this surreal moment when they were about to leave, because they were all standing there looking at the painting. And if I would have had if I wasn't in such awe of the moment, I would have took a picture of it. But it was like the picture had climbed off the wall and was standing there in front of me. So I'm watching them looking at themselves. I don't know how to explain that. You know, out of all the things that I've talked about today, that's the one thing that almost made me tear up. But I had to, I pulled it back. But that moment was when it just when it made sense, the visionary that my grandmother was, and how her legacy tied into the legacy of our people, which also was the legacy of Christ, which is the legacy of the Most High. It was in that moment that I realized that God truly had been with me the whole time, and now He was putting me in a front row seat to see His Majesty come into the earth.
That's so freaking epic. And me being able to witness and see those art pieces that you brought like in real lifetime, and then have Christ there. We were in Chicago. It just went together. So I know it's part of the connection because that was the one. The separate one was on the back.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Because I wanted to share what I felt with I realized that was the way, that was probably the most potent way that I could share what I felt in that moment with the rest of the world.
Yeah, did an excellent job because it just felt right. It just all went together. And the way it stood out, like I said, like the colors, like it just, I just loved being a part. Like you allowed me to be in that, help with that area, and it just like, also take it in, and then have Christ there. I was like, this is right. It's just real.
Yeah.
It just felt right. It just.
Yeah, like we were saying.
I'm not explaining it.
Well, but it's like we were saying, all of our religious experiences never resonated with us. They never connected for whatever reason. And then, you have moments like that and you understand why it didn't connect, because it wasn't that. It wasn't real. But God is real. So when you get the real, if that's truly what you connected to, if you're a part of that vine, if you're a part of that prophecy, you feel it. And like I said, in that moment when they were standing there looking at the picture, and it was really tripping. It was beyond me running to do anything. I wasn't going to turn my eyes away from it, because I'm sitting there like, wow. I mean, like, even if you look at the picture, you see she clearly painted Mary next to Christ. If you want to call it Mary or whatever, but in her mind, she painted a woman next to Christ in that painting. So to see Yaju and Kamani and even Danny and Stamps, Fred, those guys standing there and looking up, they're looking up at the picture in the picture. And I'm like, yeah, like, So once again, that was one of those kind of like, I hear you, Pops. I got you. Loud and clear.
I'm like kind of picturing it in my head, but I get it because it's like, and then I'm running down in my head like how, the how prophecy, how things are playing out right now, and I don't know. I can't. It's hard to explain because all I'm saying is to my listener, to the audience, this is real. I don't know what side of the, where you are when it comes to religion, but what I'm saying here is that Christ is on earth, the Adrian Judah would be that vessel, that real life human vessel that's coming down on the cloud. And I'm not even making it.
Yeah, what they say is funny because it's true. Like, it's not a joke, and it's not even religion. And that's the part, like, it's so many elements to this movement that make it more real than any explanation. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't explain to somebody why this person can jump high, or this person can throw far, or why this person can sing well. And like, you can't explain God's gifts because they just are.
So we think we need an explanation for everything, and like,
yeah, right. If Whitney Houston could tell people how to sing like her, do you know how many people would sing like Whitney? You see what I'm saying? If Jordan could tell people how to jump like him, everybody would be jumping all over the place. You can't explain God's gifts; they just are.
That is very true. That is so true. Oh my goodness. Man. Well, I do know that you have a significant piece, clip that you want to run with Yaju and the title. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I did want to say I don't know, maybe I should let you tell them, but there is a website, and I would love Brother AI to be able to run that website and the information and where you can go to get that. So,
you're talking about so the website that you go to that I went to when I met Christ was www.yahjudah.com. That's YAHJEWJUDAH.com. And there's his declaration is on there that lets you know what Christ's mission is in the earth, his true mission, which is not to start a church, not to start a religion, but to actually bring God's government, a righteous government, into the earth. And prophecy is being fulfilled. So I would just advise you again, if you want to know more about what we're talking about, if this message resonates with you, that Christ is come and is in the earth, then go to www.yahjudah.com.
Said it better myself. Want to go ahead and hit them up with the Yahjudah piece that you chose. Guys,
Sure.
Thank you for tuning in. We're going to end it here. Go ahead and take a listen. This is my great brother and friend AI, and I am Brandon J, the host of What's the Courage. Thank you for...
Hey, Brady J, again, I really appreciate you having me on and, listening to me tell my testimony and give me the opportunity to share that with the people. So thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you too. And to my listeners, I've been a little rusty. I've been out of the game for a second, so I'm coming back strong, but I'm happy to come in with this one.
We back, baby. Yeah, she back in the driver's seat, y'all. So the name of this clip right here is Nobody Can Teach the Bible Except Christ.
Till he say, blessed is ye that cometh in the name of the Lord.
Let me wind it a little bit.
Matthew 23 and 37. Well, I'm going to read 39. I'll have two scriptures, then we'll get back to the gifts. It says, For I say unto ye, ye shall not see me henceforth, till ye say, blessed is ye that cometh in the name of the Lord. You won't see God unless to what you confess to who comes in the name, because what comes in the name was given the name by God. You can come in the name because you studied the book and you feel you anointed. You only gonna come in the name unless God has given it to you. And you won't see God alone until what? You say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Father. So, that is it. Revelation 2 and 5. I'm going to Revelation 2 and 5, y'all. And it showed you how Christ takes candlesticks. And not because Christ wanted to, you're not using it. So let me give that candlestick to somebody else who's going to accept the fire. And they don't what? I didn't pour light into the world. You're not bringing light into the world. You bring your own wisdom into the world. So let's read Revelation 2 and 5, y'all. Well, matter of fact, let's start at verse 2. Well, let's start in verse 1. It says, unto the angel of the church of Ephesians, right? These things said he that all of the 7 stars that is writing in, and who walketh in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. This is the stuff, this is the things that the person gonna say what? Who holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand. I know thy works. And do Christ know your works? Because Christ did the same work he did. But the only thing that separated Christ actually had the Spirit. You didn't. And if you don't believe me, I'll take that over God. Not with me. So I know thy works and thy labor. I know thy patience. How thou cannot hear them which are evil. So you have the same zeal as me. You hate for somebody to lie. You hate for somebody to just lie on God. You just hate for somebody to mislead somebody. We got the same zeal. But it's a separation going on because of God. So I say, how thou cannot bear them which are evil. And thou hast tried them which say they are apostles, and they are not. You got the same zeal. You try to see, man, let me see if you're really a teacher of God. You find out he wasn't. So we got the same zeal. You realize all everybody of that. And it has found them to be liars. And has on and has preached. And for my name's sake has labored and has not fainted. So you're going to hear very awful though. Alright? The same is for it. You put it. Oh, we know what?
Speed check on 1 of the head on I-44 East.
God is the celebration. So it says, nevertheless, I have somewhat of DSD, because thou hast left thy first love. Now it talks about the sons of God fornicating with Babylon, right? Or being an adulterer, because we was married to God. We weren't married to man information. We weren't married to traditions of man. We weren't married to the customs of man. That's why we so rebellious. We so rebellious because he was never conditioned to follow the customs of man. So we are rebellious what? People. So then it says, remember therefore from where thou have fallen. Where did we fail? Well, where did we fall from? The grace of God. So when we failed on the grace of God, what are we without? God's Spirit, which is the grace. So since we are without the Spirit, God has to send that Spirit back into the earth. How God gonna do that? The Word gonna become flesh. How God gonna do it? The Word gonna become flesh. So I said, remember what thou, I'm sorry, remember thou saying which thou art fallen, and repent, and do the first works. Hear, my son, today don't harden your voice. Hear his voice. How did our forefathers reject God? They didn't hear the voice. They rejected the prophet. They didn't reject the book. So then it says, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will remove thy candlestick out of his place, except thou would pray. So what does Christ come to do? Take from you what you really haven't used. Christ come to give, and Christ come to take. Or it's going to be according to your free will, or depend on what you're going to receive, or what's going to be taken from you. So, a lot of people again, they call it this hang talk. Whoever not with me is against me, you have to be with me. And whoever is scared to testify to the world what the Son of God is, they not with the Son of God. You can say you're with me, but at the same time, now I can have a conversation that somebody is against me. Because I'm not trying to trick you. What Bible says, so we gonna know who the real revolutionary is. I'm not trying to trick you. No.
I think that might have.
That
Yeah, I guess that was all that I had of it, but that was, whew,
yeah, I am.
that. I hope y'all got that. So
We'll go in and we're going to go ahead and close it on up. Once again, thank you for joining me and Brother AI. Christ is here on earth. Until next time, peace out, everybody.
peace and blessings.